Vacation and travel are supposed to be fun and good for the soul, but having to travel with back pain can turn a hard-earned, well-deserved vacation into a very unpleasant ordeal. The good news is that identifying and managing travel risk factors can make the difference between a vacation being a good time and a pleasure or a nightmare. In today's video, we're going to show you how to detect many of the most common risk factors associated with travel and how to develop strategies and techniques to manage them. So let's get started. Traveling can be a lot of fun or it can be a disaster. If you suffer from back pain or other health complication, then the ability to identify travel-related risk factors and manage them effectively can make a big difference both during your course of travel and afterwards in terms of comfort and pleasure. Now, you can't solve a problem if you don't know it is a problem. And once the problem has had its impact upon you, then you can't unring that bell. It's already happened and you're stuck with managing it, and it can steal your vacation in the process. So being able to detect and avoid risk factors is an important part of having successful pain-free travel. One of the biggest risk factors associated with travel is prolonged sitting. Sitting puts more stress on your spine than standing does by a significant degree. The uninformed traveler often looks forward to prolonged sitting in a long drive or a long flight as a rest period. But in fact, prolonged sitting, as I said, puts more stress on your spine than standing, and the longer it happens, the worse the impact. Then it's made worse sometimes by sitting, being sedentary for a long time, and then arriving at your destination and all of a sudden getting busy with a flurry of activity that can cause injury to muscles that were in a sustained sedentary state for quite a period of time. So it's kind of a double whammy, and it's not good. When we travel, we often have to perform mechanical activities that we don't often have to perform during our routine activities of daily living. Things like lifting luggage, putting things into overhead bins, lifting grandchildren, those kinds of things, transferring luggage from a vehicle to the ground to another. These all represent potential lifting injuries, and if we're not aware that there's a potential problem, then we don't trigger our defenses and lift wisely using techniques that we know how to use, but don't because we haven't recognized the threat. Traveling can be stressful and it can be tiresome, and getting a good night's rest is important to allow us to rejuvenate and enjoy the process of our travel experience. Sleeping in strange beds and using strange pillows represents a risk factor. Many of us who prefer to stay healthy do so by doing normal stretching routines or yoga or meditation. In other words, we have a self-care routine in our life, and that routine can be interrupted in the course of travel. Being aware of that, compensating for that, and planning for that, and really not giving up things that are important like daily stretches if you have neck or back pain, including that in your schedule is an important factor that can add to the comfort of traveling. So far we've identified some major risk factors that warrant extra attention while traveling. In summary, they are prolonged sitting, dangerous lifting, changes in sleep environment, and interruption of self-care routine. Now let's talk about some effective tools that you can use to manage those risk factors. Avoid prolonged sitting. If you're flying, try to get an aisle seat and get up when you can. Visit the area around the restrooms on a plane. Sometimes security measures may complicate this, so be sure to talk with flight attendants about this when appropriate. If you're driving, stop frequently and get out and walk for 10 minutes. And here's a hint. Getting out of the car and walking into a coffee shop, sitting there for a while, and then walking back to your car does not count as 10 minutes. Get out and walk for 10 minutes. Plan for these 10-minute stops about every 60 to 90 minutes of your travel time. Include these in your planning schedule so that you can arrive on time and comfortable in the process. And by the way, if you are driving as a passenger, you are still sitting. It's surprising to me how many people say to me, "Don't worry, doctor, I will let my partner drive and I'll be the passenger, and that way it won't aggravate my back problem." It just doesn't work that way, sorry. If you'll be sitting for a long time while traveling and your seat's adjustable, make sure that you utilize this feature to make your travel more comfortable and less likely to get you into trouble. Take advantage of seat height, angle, front and back positions, as well as lumbar and head supports to get as comfortable and risk-free as possible. If you have to put up with prolonged sitting while travel, don't just sit there, do something. You can still move. You can move your feet, ankles, wrists. You can lift your legs off of the seat. Some airlines actually provide in-flight exercises for people to perform in the process of sitting in their plane seats during the course of travel. Be active or as active as you can without obviously being dangerous as a driver or distracting the driver. Use pillows and cushions for support during the course of travel. This is especially important if you have long duration flights or long drives, and especially important also if you're planning to sleep on an airplane and need support for your neck in the process. Now let's talk about lifting properly while traveling. And I should say that lifting as a subject is the topic of an entirely different educational video here on the Chiropractic Health channel that you should probably watch. But let's talk about some high points when it comes to traveling and lifting. Often when I teach lifting and back safety courses, I begin the class by asking this question. If you want to prevent a back injury, what is the most important body part that you use while performing a lift? And frequently the answers are legs, backs, and so forth. The correct answer is your brain. Recognizing a risk factor and applying the principles that you already know will get you through most lifts. Many injuries occur because the person performing the lift just said, "Doc, I'm sorry, I just wasn't thinking at the time." So situational awareness, being aware that anytime you're lifting anything, especially traveling, lifting baggage into a vehicle, transporting baggage out of a carousel, putting items into an overhead compartment, all of these things represent unusual lifting risks. And so situational awareness and being aware and using proper mechanics while lifting is an important way to avoid aggravating back problems. Having said that, here are some hip pocket lifting tips for travel. Center the load. That means get the center of mass of the object that you are lifting as close to your center of gravity as possible before you lift. This applies to lifting children as well. When placing luggage in or out of spaces such as the trunk of a car, get as close to the starting and ending point of the object being lifted as possible. Test the load before you lift it. Appearances can be deceiving. Large objects can be light and small objects can be heavy. Objects can be heavier at one end than the other. Give your brain the opportunity to calibrate the effort necessary to perform the lift before actually lifting the object. Whenever possible, lift with your legs, not your back. This is easier when you get your center of gravity close to the object, both horizontally and vertically, as I mentioned. Break your lifting movements into smaller and easier movements. Use your brain to plan the lift in stages and execute one stage at a time. For example, lift the suitcase to the edge of the car trunk, then lower the suitcase to the ground. Then start to transfer the suitcase. An important corollary to this principle is never lift and twist at the same time. This is the cause of many disc herniations and spinal injuries, and it's just the wrong thing to do. You should never mix planes of movement when lifting. Get help when lifting. Really, it's okay. And finally, in the lifting and traveling category, here's a helpful hint to apply when there are young children involved. Either you're visiting them or they're visiting you, and you just want to pick them up and hold them. Don't do it. Now, when I've given this advice to many a grandmother, they look at me like I'm asking them to do something impossible or that I've gone crazy. But please, bear with me. There is an alternative. Sit on a chair and hold them in your lap. If they're tiny, have them handed to you. If they're not tiny, if they're toddlers, have them climb up into your lap. But sit and let them come to you, and you will be glad that you did this. And finally, some other general travel recommendations. First, with regard to sleep surfaces. Getting restful sleep while traveling is important. If a bed or pillow that you're about to use isn't good, try to make a change. Although this may not always be possible, sometimes it is, and the difference can be an important one. Also, if you do have sleep issues, then be sure to watch our Chiropractic Health channel video entitled Tips for Better Sleep. Do your stretches and other self-care activities right on schedule. Build it into your travel plans. Make it a priority. You are already exposed to more risks while you're traveling, and you want to do the things that keep you healthy and flexible and pain-free when you're exposed to these higher levels of risk. So make it a priority and build it into your schedule. Don't overdo it and know when to quit. You're probably not doing anyone a favor, most especially yourself, by being a martyr and carrying on beyond the point when you should stop, rest, or slow down. Vacations are meant to be enjoyed, not endured. If you have special needs and concerns, make them known to those who are making your travel arrangements or your host. Sometimes there are accommodations available that may come as a pleasant, comfortable, and convenient surprise. And in this category, I must mention the plight of those of you who travel by car for long distance with someone who's planning the trip, who has the mentality of getting from point A to point B as fast as possible, period. It's my belief, and it's been my experience, that if your spouse or travel companion is made aware of your condition and the amount of discomfort that sitting for prolonged periods of time brings to you and how it impacts your function and your ability to enjoy life, and especially if you are armed with a note or instruction from your doctor who tells you to have this conversation, then they are oftentimes quite willing to make that accommodation for you if it's made clear to them. If this is an issue for you, be sure to mention it to your doctor of chiropractic, who can provide for you a note that you can hand to that particularly intense driver and make them aware of the situation, and it might carry a little more weight for you and make your trip a little more comfortable for you. So there you have it in a nutshell, a group of tools and awarenesses that can help make your travel experience more comfortable and enjoyable. Vaya con Dios. Thank you for your time and attention today. This Chiropractic Health Channel presentation has been brought to you by the Bennett Clinic. At the Bennett Clinic, we combine chiropractic care, massage therapy, physical rehabilitation, and more to help our patients get off the downhill pain management treadmill to nowhere and live the life that they want and deserve. Find out more about how we at the Bennett Clinic can help you by visiting the Bennett Clinic website at www.bennettclinic.net or call for an appointment at 928-771-9400. For many more health enlightenment moments, just click the subscribe button below. And if you liked what you learned today, please click the like button as well.